cnbc.tv18.com and Salesforce present the Limitless Enterprise.
Hello and welcome to cnbc.tv18.com and Salesforce present the Limitless Enterprise, blazing a trail with the third wave of AI. I'm Ridu Bhandari. And our focus today is on customer experience. We are calling it CX 2.0, beyond personalization with Gen AI in retail and consumer goods. Today, artificial intelligence is reshaping the way businesses interact with their customers. From hyper-targeted recommendations and predictive analytics to AI agents solving customer service problems autonomously, this technology is generating unprecedented value for retail businesses. In fact, according to McKinsey, AI is poised to unlock between 240 billion to 390 billion US dollars in economic value for retailers. Thanks to AI, today businesses are able to create truly exceptional customer experiences that drive loyalty, increase sales, and stay ahead of the competition. But of course, enterprises need to ensure that the tech is scalable and well aligned with business goals. So I'm joined today by eminent industry leaders here who will share how they are using AI, Gen AI, and autonomous agents to enhance customer engagement, improve operations, and unlock new growth opportunities sustainably. Let me then welcome Ninad Raje, Group Chief Information and Transformation Officer, Jaquar and Company; Deep Sen, IT and Digital Leader at Kohler; Samrat Banerjee, Senior Vice President, IT and CIO at Emami Limited.
Hi.
And Aditi Sharma, Regional Vice President, Retail and Consumer Goods at Salesforce India. Welcome, gentlemen. Welcome, Aditi. Thank you so much for joining us here today. So AI seems to be the buzzword for the last couple of years actually now. And today, of course, Gen AI is replacing AI. So we're very excited to find out what your respective organizations are doing. Where are you in your AI-powered or AI-enabled journey? And Ninad, if I can begin with you. Now, today's customer is extremely demanding. We want very seamless and we want very exhilarating experiences when it comes to brands. So whether it's online, whether it's offline, the experience has to really excite us, be seamless and be consistent.
True.
At Jaquar, how challenging is it to achieve that? And what are the things you are doing with technology and AI in particular to ensure that this customer journey is frictionless for you?
Sure. Thank you so much, Madhur. And thank you, CNBC TV18 as well, for inviting us and having us in this particular panel and discussion. To begin with, I do believe, and our philosophy is also about, well, we talk about consumers and their preferences, and you spoke about demands, right? The modern consumer is all about having options with them, right? And when you talk about options, there are gazillion options available with consumers right now. Whilst consumers are demanding, and of course, their needs and requirements are also increasingly getting fragmented, right? And that's where we are trying to adapt and prioritize our sort of implementations and bringing in this entire new age of technology to facilitate and to augment this entire operating technology that we have, right? So that is exactly where we get our Gen AI, ML tools, and so on, robotic processes, and so on and so forth for augmenting the processes as such. Now, what are we doing from the organization standpoint in addition to what the entire world is doing? We are trying to, when we talk about the entire seamless omni-channel consumer experience, right? We are talking about unifying the entire customer profile. Now, when we talk about unifying the customer profile, it's all about whether the consumer is going online or coming in store or maybe on a call or maybe on a chat. The entire experience should be so seamless that it should not matter to the consumer where is that consumer buying it from, yeah? And that's where the unification of processes, unification of customer experience comes into picture. So from that standpoint, we're making sure that we bring in these Gen AI tools to provide this unified, seamless experience. And the second piece is also about consistent branding and messaging. Yeah. So whether the consumer is going online to a website or even through maybe a consumer app, maybe Amazon, maybe Flipkart, maybe any other, they should be able to get the same experience whilst they are either talking to us in person, they're walking into our store, or maybe they are talking to a customer representative, right? And that's where the consistent branding and messaging comes into picture. And third piece is also about we're trying to get this entire omni-channel loyalty programs as well. Again, when a consumer is going online or in store, they should be able to get the entire loyalty points and so on and so forth coming into picture. And they should be able to not only garner, but they can also spend those points in various kind of categories as such, right? So there are three aspects that we have kind of gone ahead and implemented, and that has really gained a lot of traction within our organization and also brought in a lot of benefits, from the higher revenue standpoint, visibility standpoint. It has created brand recognition for us. Also, it has also helped us to expand our reach geographically, not only from the Indian standpoint, from overseas as well.
Great, great. Good to know that. Deep, coming to you now. Of course, we all know that hyper-personalization is one of the big advantages that emerging technologies are able to offer, advantages both for the retailer and for the customer as well. But to what extent then do retailers need to be very sensitive about the way they are tracking customers, the way they are targeting customers, the way they are designing their digital marketing strategies? Because oftentimes it happens that, how do you decide how much is too much? Because we are constantly having conversations around our phones. Phones are listening to our conversations, targeting us with ads. Is that too much? And how does a brand like yours then decide that, how will you create that balance between marketing innovation versus not hounding the customer?
Sure. First of all, thanks Mridul and News 18 for hosting us. I think it's not a specific to Kohler. I think across the industry, when we look at the consumers, they are aware of the pros and cons of what happens when we share a lot of information about us, right? When we want to travel to Mauritius, when we go to Facebook, we can see, look, there are trips, advertisements coming up. There are pros of it as well, right? And I think as Kohler, any other company, we do invest in these kind of campaigns. We know the customers would come on these campaigns and probably buy products for us. At the same point in time, it's important that when we get this customer information at the point of sales for a retailer or on the online channel, it's important to let them understand what is the benefit they're getting out of it, right? For example, when I go to a Ralph Lauren store, I would probably scan the POS and I would give my details because of the fact that I want to probably get some discounts, right? So the importance of the benefits which they're getting out of it should be very clearly articulated to the customers, whether it's in retail, whether it's online. We should give flexibility to the customers to opt in and opt out. There are a lot of people who would not want any messages or any communication. I think that's typically how any company, even from Kohler perspective, we respect the fact this customer information, this PI information, but if they are not willing to share with us, it's absolutely fine. Don't share with us. But it's important to articulate the pros of it, right? Across the industry, again, not only durables, even FMCG and other industries as well, getting customer information is a norm these days. I mean, wherever you go, they would, even restaurants, the first thing we'll take is a phone number, right? But again, the benefits of getting that phone number and what you get out of it, the loyalty points, he spoke about as well. I think it's important the customers start understanding that and react to that accordingly. So that's what Kohler is also looking at from that perspective.
Right. And where are you in your AI and Gen AI journey?
So again, the AI journey differs from company to company. Some companies are not so scaled up or don't have so much investments to, put in AI and fail and then figure out what the right use cases are, right? For Kohler, I think we've built the fundamentals of technologies, which is our foundation to what we call as from a technology intervention standpoint. Now is the time when we're exploring how AI can add value. So across the consumer journey, whether it's chatbots, whether it's customer service, one of the things we look at is while we scale up, it's important that we don't increase the number of associates in a customer service. There are chatbots which can help us solve the problems the customers have. 80% of the customers have a very typical problem, whether it's they're calling for an installation or a service, right? 80% can be solved through bots. We don't need manual intervention as well, right? So I think there are across the consumer journey, we are looking at places where AI can add value. And I think from a consumer perspective, it's important that we show the benefits for the AI, right? Faster turnaround time, right? More effectiveness, more unbiased decision, because a lot of people feel that, okay, AI is going to give me a biased decision on a particular geography, right? We need to ensure there's unbiased decision coming across. So we're thinking through all of these factors while we're looking at AI coming across for us.
Fantastic. Well, shifting gears and coming to FMCG with you now, Samrat. Again, FMCG is a sector which has a lot of traditional enterprises as far as India is concerned. How challenging is it, number one, for a legacy FMCG company to go the whole hog on digitalization and adopt AI, Gen AI at a very fast pace, given the environment that we are in right now? And two, on the sales and distribution front, because that's critical to an FMCG company's success as well. Can AI really level up the game for companies? What do FMCG companies at large feel about that? And where are you at Emami?
First of all, thanks to CNBC and Salesforce for having me here. Great pleasure. Now, coming back to the FMCG sector, see, especially the Indian FMCG context is very different from the Western world, right? It's largely driven by general trade, the mom and pop kind of, kirana stores. And when it comes to completely changing that, and there are a lot of incumbents which are there, but there are a lot of new entrants who are digital first kind of brands. If you look at Mamaearth and brands like them, they are digital first kind of brands, right? Now, what at Emami we have done, there are two ways we are looking at it. One is in an inorganic manner, meaning that we have actually invested into such digital brands. For example, the Man Company is something that now is wholly owned by Emami. And there we actually connect with our consumers through the new age branding, right? Now coming back to the the traditional products of Emami that we distribute in the market. When it comes to adoption of technology, I think the most important thing is the buy-in from the board. It's a top-down approach. It's normally never a bottoms-up approach. When it comes to adoption of technology, there has to be a buy-in from your board, and that way I think we are making the right moves. We are moving in the right direction. There is a lot of enthusiasm across the board in terms of adopting technology, leveraging technology to our advantage, and we have been able to do that. Now, when we come to how the sales and distribution processes in FMCG whether it will transform and how will it transform, I think one of the biggest challenges that we face is the Salesforce attrition, which means the guy who is ultimately selling our product in front of the retailer at the store. We have been seeing unprecedented attrition over the last few years, obviously for a good reason, I would say, because there are so many options now to that. I mean, thanks to the Swiggies and the Blinkits of the world, I mean, there are so many options available to these people, right? So in order to counter that attrition, you would need technology to assist a new guy who is joining on the job on day one, and he should be productive right from the beginning. And I think there AI can play a very, very big role. We have already experimented in terms of having product recommendations using AI ML engines so that, out of the lakhs of stores that we go and sell to, exactly what product should be sold at what retailer is being predicted. But I think AI can play a much larger role there, not only in terms of product recommendation, but also in terms of guiding that salesman and being his coach or an assistant, whichever you call it, to the right result.
Fantastic. Great experiences, all of you. Aditi, coming to you, Salesforce, of course, is a key enabler when it comes to the whole digital transformation journey of any enterprise. Now, while Gen AI is the buzzword that we are talking about in the industry these days, how is Salesforce thinking about AI, approaching it, and how are you making it real for industries, different sectors, leaders sitting here?
So, you started off by saying we are in the third wave, right? And I wanted to talk about that because for us, it's very important to set the context right. For us, the first wave really started in 2013-14, where it was all about predictive, using your historical data to look at, forecast the trends for the future. We very recently went through a generative AI phase where a host of large language models came in. We spoke about chatbots. Some of those technologies came in, which made it very easy for humans to interact with these large language models and generate responses. At Salesforce, we believe we are in the third wave right now, which is the age of autonomous agents. And We recently announced a major, product from our side, which is called Agent Force, which is all about autonomous AI, because we believe that's really what the AI was meant to do. So far, the previous waves was all about DIY AI, where you had to spend a lot of time in figuring things out. There were no apparent use cases that came out. The ones that came out are very structured and fixed, and you could not just let AI work independently. In the era of autonomous agent, what we have really done is that we have brought it all together. We've got the data, we've put large language models on top of it, but above that, we've put our agents, which works at the back of it. The brain of the agent is really the reasoning engine. And the reasoning engine is able to consume all of that data that is coming in, the prompts or the questions that you put in, and it goes into a loop of analyzing it, questioning it, reasoning it, and once it's convinced that the answer is absolutely right, then it gives an answer. Now, what it has done for industries and businesses is that it's able to remove human from the loop to a very large extent, free up the bandwidth for the human to use it for more productive tasks, right? To free up the bandwidth of doing repetitive and mundane tasks. Whether it's in sales, Samrat talked about, how do you have an omnipresent coach which is able to constantly look at the data in real time and able to guide the sellers, or whether it's, in service or customer experience, where you're able to not just respond, but also orchestrate actions. So this is the wave that we are in, and we believe that autonomous agents is what AI is always meant to be, and that's the era that we are living in right now.
Indeed. And, it's always exciting to think about what the future is going to be like, and we'll come to that. But Ninad, coming to you, upgrading a legacy enterprise, adopting technology, fixing bits and pieces, or going the whole hog. There's a lot of decision making that happens when you're on a digital transformation journey. There are a lot of ecosystem processes that need to change, data silos that need to be broken if you really want to do something that's innovative and path breaking. So given this entire landscape and given all of these factors in your business, is there alignment across the ecosystem when it comes to the benefits of Gen AI in particular, and are there differing opinions? How do you weigh those opinions, and how do you really ensure that the benefit outweighs the cost? Because this is not cheap, let's be honest.
That's true. And however, for an organization which is an enterprise class level organization, which is well spread, the footprint is like 55 countries in the world as of now, in addition to India, there would be differing opinions. There is no doubt about it. And it is good for any organization because it just gives you different perspectives. Yeah, something which you will talk about, something I will talk about, and there's a difference of opinions. It is good to kind of for a evolution of a product, right? So that's where we started, and it's a 65 year young organization, let me put it that way. There's a legacy. The legacy was all about manual activities, right? And we have grown through the number of years. Now is the time for us to kind of take that next big leap of faith, and that is where the digital technology comes into picture. So what we have done is we embarked on this journey of transforming our organization from a legacy manual organization to this entire digitally led organization, right? And this is on a global footprint basis. So you can imagine the magnitude and scale that we are looking at. And of course, platforms like Salesforce, platforms like there are other platforms that we have kind of gone ahead with as well. They are really helping us sort of transform ourselves into a different league altogether, right? So Aditi also spoke about this autonomous agents, right? We are also embarking on a journey of adopting that as well at some point in time very, very soon, and it is going to be really helpful for us. But coming back to the difference of opinions and as well as whether there is alignment in the organization, it was an extremely difficult proposition coming from a manual-led organization to convince the entire rank and file of the organization to adopt digital technology, right? And so that was the first hurdle. Obviously, we have well past that hurdle now. Now the expectation is everybody is waiting with bated breath, saying that, okay, now that our eyes are open, we want to kind of adopt, and the expectations are really sky high as far as, so to the extent that whatever we are thinking, whatever new processes are coming up, the discussions are revolving around how do we digitize everything now, all right? versus the earlier avatar, which was all about manual paperwork, scrap of papers, and so on and so forth. Now, the first thing that comes to our mind is digital. How do we adopt, how do we evolve, how do we implement, and how do we further adopt this entire technology, right? So that is something, so alignment is obviously there right from the top. So from the board level, they are all aligned. They are talking about what next. How can we adopt Gen AI? How can we implement sort of autonomous agents? How can we not only simplify but completely automate our processes to the extent that everything is digital, right? And everything should be at the fingertip.
Deep, coming to you now. We've spoken about consumers being very demanding. Let's also speak about consumers being very conscious and being very aware these days, demanding transparency, demanding trust, and wanting to do good for the planet, wanting more sustainability. So FMCG, consumer goods, these are all sectors, manufacturers that can contribute to that larger mission, right? Has that been your experience as well at Kohler, that consumers now want to make more eco-friendly choices? And do you think AI and other emerging technologies can really play a role in sort of helping brands build that customer trust on this front particularly?
Sure. I think Kohler, for specific reasons, being the industry which we are in, it's important to manufacture products which are eco-friendly, right? Whether we go to any place like Bangalore where there is shortage of water, it's important that products we make are consuming less water and more eco-friendly, right? So whatever products we launch typically has that eco-friendliness concept in it, where we are using less amount of water than typically what others are using. Yes, AI can play an important role in this. I think we are still in a phase where we are investigating in terms of how the technology intervention, the AI intervention can take place here. From product sustainable perspective, there are places where we actually have some POCs going on, where AI can actually intervene and tell us, or maybe predict in terms of what is the right amount of water, which can gives us eco-friendly feel. At the same point of time, the customers will feel, look, I'm using less amount of water to get things done, right? Yeah. So those are somewhere where we are investing our time, and we are doing POCs to ensure that we have the right outcome coming out.
And you think these things really matter to the consumer?
Absolutely, absolutely. Like I said, when I speak to consumers in Bangalore, for example, where there was a shortage of water for some amount of time, right? You speak to consumers, you speak to people in the hospitality industry, like hotels and all, they actually want toilets which are using less amount of water. And I'm sure that's for Jaguar case as well. I mean, we are in the same industry, so it's important for us to ensure that the water usage is as least as possible and get the work done. I mean, both aspects are very important.
Absolutely. That's great to know, actually. And Samrat, we've spoken earlier about autonomous agents, and Aditi, of course, told us about Salesforce offerings in that domain. Do you think autonomous agents are here to stay, firstly? And secondly, if we do a little bit of crystal ball gazing and try to peep into the future, what are some of the technologies that you are most excited about for the FMCG sector at large? And are there things that can be done within the ecosystem to push FMCG companies to adopt newer technologies faster and at scale?
Absolutely. I think autonomous agents, what Salesforce is doing, and many others are also into that game, especially on the service front and the operations front. I think autonomous agents can do wonders. When it comes to sales, it's slightly more complicated because there is a lot of on the spot decision making based on human sentiment, the guy you're speaking to. So we'll probably have to be a little more careful about how autonomous agents would work there, because you probably need a human touch along with the autonomous agents especially in the sales part of it. But service and operations, absolutely. I think the autonomous agents, even in supply chain to a certain extent, we would probably maybe 3 or 4 years from now, we would see autonomous supply chains where decisions are only requiring human intervention by exception, and that's it.
Right.
When it comes to FMCG, as I said earlier, I think there's a lot that AI can do. Why FMCG? I mean, every sector AI will play a role, Gen AI will play a role. However, with the government policies, the data privacy, the government policy is not yet very clear on how you make use of AI. The regulatory part, one needs to be careful about when trying to build very large scale enterprise solutions right now, because I think that's going to come in within at least a year and a half, if not earlier, about having the regulatory aspects of use of AI. So one needs to be a little watchful about that.
Yes, yes. We have the DPTP Act, which keeps undergoing a lot of new changes as technology evolves. Obviously, regulations evolve as well. Well said on that. And Aditi, Samrat touched upon data privacy and the risks that come with technologies. Now, obviously, any new technology, more and more devices getting connected to the internet, we are opening ourselves up to new threats every single day. Enterprises are opening themselves up to much bigger threats than individuals are. How do you think AI and Gen AI can be used in that domain, and what can we do to ensure that we are ahead of threats and we are able to conquer them efficiently?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Very recently, we launched our State of Connected AI report. It's a research report which you all should look at it. It's got a lot of exhaustive data on how consumers are looking at AI. All of us are in touching consumer industries in some way or the other. And the interesting thing was 60% of the consumers that we interviewed, they felt trust will be a very important element in adoption of AI. Now, this presents a great opportunity to all organizations who are dealing with these customers, right? There has always been a trust deficit. You talked about explosion of data. Because of all that data coming in, consumers are thinking twice about leveraging these tools and these tools within the context of the enterprise. So this is a great opportunity for organizations to create that trust quotient with the customer. Now, obviously, Gen AI tools at a very basic level, you put a prompt and then you put the LLM tools go back and look at the data, which is your own enterprise data, and then throw up an answer. So if you just break it down into these 3 steps, what Salesforce has done in promoting a safer adoption is, number 1, to make sure that the prompt that you're putting, the context that you're putting, the data that you're grounding the question in, and the response that is coming, it's all surrounded by an Einstein trust layer. This is specifically for Salesforce users like we have here. So once you do that, there's data masking. We ensure that we don't store any personally identifiable information. Data is masked. That's the first part of it. The second part of it is when there's an exchange of information between the prompt, the user given prompt, and the large language model. Now, large language models are all owned by a couple of companies across the globe. So we've formed agreements with some of these large language model companies where the customer's context, which is the question that you put into the large language model, and the data that you send to get a better response, and the outcome. Neither the question nor the data nor the outcome, none of it is stored. It just happens, the answer comes and it all goes away. Right? So that's the second part of the equation. The third thing, and this is not new to Salesforce, but we've had an Office of Ethical and Humane Use of Technology for forever, since our inception. And one of the core tenets of that is to make sure that technology is not just more accessible, but it's also ethical and it's used in the right manner. So in this case, we have actually released an AI accessibility report where we have formed our own principles and we have given guidance. So for example, we don't ever do personalization on treatments or financial advice, etc. So these are the 3 things that we have put, because at Salesforce we still, we truly believe that your data is not our product, right? This is your product and you do the things that you want to do with your data. We will enhance the outcomes for it. And this is how we are looking at the entire layer of trust, security, to ensure that the Gen AI tools actually get more accessible. And the Gen Z user in the same report have said that 30% of the Gen Z users are most excited. And to add on to what Ninad and Deep said, the Gen Z users said that they are looking at actually having a autonomous agent-led shopper to make their shopping decisions. So it's autonomous agents era is here, and that's why security is so critical and paramount.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. Well, as we close this conversation, I'm going to give 30 seconds to each of you to tell me what is the next big AI-led or AI-powered customer experience trend that you're most excited about, perhaps a trend that you think is going to reshape your sector, your industry, your organization. Get creative with your thoughts. Ninad?
Yeah, so, well, it's all about wellness now. It's no more about the small products or the age-old products. It's all about wellness. How can we, consumers are also expecting us to augment their lifestyles, right? So the entire Gen AI new technology is going to be towards how do we make consumers' lifestyle easy, larger than life as well, accessible, more accessible, and more fun, to be very honest, right? And that is exactly what we are looking forward to. And because the so-called Gen Alpha, beyond the Gen Z, it's Gen Alpha now, right? So Gen Alpha is talking about all this. They want to be having this voice activated thing. They want to have this experience, out of this world experience. So we are catering to that kind of, in their showers, yeah. And I'm sure Deep would agree with me. So we are all talking about these kind of experiences. And our technology, whether it's Gen AI, whether it is the new technology, this quantum, is all going to be towards this, yeah. And of course, it's also about making it sustainable as well.
Right. Okay, so Deep.
See, from a Kohler perspective, I would say the critical function where AI would play a very important role would be customer service. I think end of the day, when we are in the durable industry selling a product, customer service is the paramount importance for us, right? There are a lot of interventions, opportunity areas where AI plays a very important role. Just for an example, right? When you call a bank these days, you have to repeat your problem. You have to keep on telling them this is the problem, right? They don't have the history. Even though they have the history, they don't know about it, right? How does AI come into the picture and predict that, okay, this customer is already called 5 times, the irritated customer? How do we change the script? It is not, hello, how are you? It is more of, sorry, we have not been able to help you. How do you ensure that you move forward with the issue and address it, right? So there are a lot of interventions across the customer service function where we can even predict the escalation which can come up from a customer, right? So a lot of use cases which we are seeing from a customer service perspective. I feel that for Kohler, I think it's important that we start investing in AI in the customer service function to have a better service to the customers.
All right, Samrat.
FMCG industry, I think, where AI has not been explored to that extent yet, but probably going to proliferate in the next few years, is product innovation. I think we would leverage AI, or rather AI would help us create products which otherwise we wouldn't have thought of, by looking at consumer trends, by looking at cross-geographical trends. I think that those are the areas where AI can play a highly significant role, which we have not probably even touched, seen the tip of the iceberg yet.
Absolutely, absolutely. Aditi?
So 2 thoughts. One, I think this Gen AI wave will definitely change our mindsets to start thinking about, mindset of scarcity, that I have limited time, limited resources to do things, to a mindset of abundance, right? How can, instead of just focusing on top leads, how can I focus on all leads? Instead of just focusing on irate customers, how can I focus on all customers? So there's a big mind shift, a mindset change that we are definitely going to see. We believe that the next era is already upon us, which is autonomous general AI, where the 2 autonomous agents will start talking to each other, and we will live in that world. So before that world comes to us, I think it's very important for us to embrace and adopt what's today in front of us and get into that era of abundance. That's what I feel.
Just wanted to add one thing. I mean, the title of this particular program is Limitless Experience, or rather Limitless Enterprise, right? Yeah. So just my thought, it could be limited enterprises and with limitless and technology. That is something which I would coin.
Right. Yes, absolutely. So, the tagline is blazing a trail with the 3rd wave of AI. So we absolutely are aligned on that anything to do with enterprises of the future will have to have artificial intelligence, will have to have a bunch of emerging technologies if we really want to make that potential limitless. Gentlemen, Aditi, thank you so much for joining us here today. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Well, that's a wrap of this special conversation. Clearly, Gen AI is set to redefine delivery of exceptional customer experience. It's not just transforming every aspect of the customer journey, but also behind the scenes operations that make this journey possible and successful. Hope you enjoyed all the incredible insights shared here by our experts today. As we move forward, it's important to continue exploring the possibilities of artificial intelligence and Gen AI while keeping in mind the privacy and security concerns around new technology adoption. Thank you very much for joining us here today. Until next time, it's goodbye.
cnbc TV18.com and Salesforce present The Limitless Enterprise.